is that company. So if we view Jehovah as a real part of the marriage, it will make it happier. We can trust Jehovah's advice found in the Bible because he knows our physical and emotional makeup better than anyone else, even your mother and your father. Jehovah knows that about us. Study the Bible together, pray together, worship together. All of those things will only draw you closer to each other, but most importantly, it will draw you close to Jehovah. But now, in order for this to work, in order for these things to take place, each of you has a job to do. Each of you has a role in making sure that this happens. So, Jerome, we're going to start with you. We're going to talk to you for a few minutes. What you will want to know is, how can I be a husband who gains and earns the deep respect of his wife? Well, a lot rests on your shoulders. We want you to earn the respect as opposed to demanding it. Let's look at the responsibility Jehovah gives you at 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse number 3. There, chapter 11 and verse number 3, it says, "But I want you to know that the head of every man is the Christ. In turn, the head of a woman is the man. In turn, the head of the Christ is God." So Jehovah has appointed you as the loving head of your new family arrangement. Now, what does this mean? Well, let's first talk about what being the head doesn't mean. Nowhere will you find in the scriptures that Jehovah appointed you the head because you're the most intelligent, the strongest, and the best suited for that position. Doesn't say that. We are appointed, or you are appointed as head from Jehovah, not because of anything that you've done. That's just the way Jehovah did it. He didn't explain it to us. But that's the arrangement that he put in place. Now that we've got that cleared up, what is real Christian headship like? What does that look like? What does it sound like? Well, real Christian headship involves using sound judgment based on Bible principles and taking the lead, not in a dogmatic way, but in a loving way. That includes supplying your family's material, spiritual, emotional, and recreational needs. Did you get that? I'll repeat it. You are responsible for her spiritual, material, emotional, and recreational needs. Before this, her dad used to do all of that. He loses that job today. Now it becomes your job. You're responsible for that. Take it extremely seriously. But let's be clear. Christian headship does not permit the husband to be a tyrant or a dictator. You should not use phrases such as, "When I get home, this better be done," or "My dinner better be on the table or else." Let's just say this. Anything that ends in "or else," just stay away from it. Those are ultimatums. Jehovah is not at all pleased with that type of behavior. That is not the type of leadership. That is not the type of headship that Christ set the example. Christian husbands will want to exercise their headship in the same way that Christ exercised his. Now let's look at Ephesians chapter 5, verse 28 and 29. It says, "In the same way, husbands should be loving their wives as their own bodies. A man who loves his wife loves himself. For no man ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cherishes it, just as Christ does the congregation." That is the way that you want to be when it comes to your wife. So how do you apply this in practical terms? Well, if you follow the example that Christ set, you will not act in a selfish way. You will not demand that things will have to be done my way. or things will have to, my way will always rule. Jesus put others first. You notice it says in the same way. Well, what's that same way? The same way that Jesus did it. He put others before himself. He, in fact, gave his life for the Christian congregation. Never do you read of an example of where Jesus yelled at or got physical with any of his apostles, no matter how much they tested his patience. Jerome, she will test your patience. You have to copy the example of Christ. In just a few moments, when we turn our attention to fidia, we will tell her that under your headship and being submissive is not demeaning to her. In fact, it'll be refreshing. In order for that to be true, you have to make sure that as her husband, you don't do or say things that would make her feel as a lesser one or demeaning. There is a saying that there are going to be days that you love her so much that you could just eat her up. There are also going to be days that she will test your patience. You may get angry, and you'll wish you had eaten her up. But you cannot. There is no room to treat your wife with disrespect or express any type of bitter angerness toward her. Jehovah does not appreciate it. He will not bless it, and he will not listen to your prayers if you act that way. So, if you follow the example of Christ, you won't go wrong. You will find, if you do this, your wife will have a deep respect for you, and you won't have to ask for it. You won't have to demand it. It will just simply be there. It will amaze you. Now, we'll get you off the hot seat for a second. Is it okay if we speak to fidia? Now, fidia, here's what you'll be interested in. You will want to know, how can I become a wife who is dearly loved by this man? Now, we say dearly loved because over the past couple of months, that word has just been flowing like crazy, I'm sure. I love you. He's been writing it, calling you, texting, all of that. It's going to go deeper than that. It will get deeper. Now, you listen carefully as we read 1 Corinthians 11:3 to Jerome, where it talked about Jehovah is the head of the Christ. Christ is the head of man and woman. Man is head of the woman. Here's what's really interesting about that scripture. As you listen to that structure, you are the only person in it that gets to choose who your head is. Jehovah is the head of Christ. He had no choice in that. Christ is the head of man. We have no choice in that. But you're choosing your head today. Now that you have chosen, how can you make this man dearly love you? Well, let's review your role. The Bible shows that a wife's role in the marriage is an honorable and dignified one. She is not a lesser of the union. Look at 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse number 7. And it says, you husbands in the same way continue dwelling with them according to knowledge. Assign them honor as to a weaker vessel, the feminine one, since they are also heirs of you with the undeserved favor of life, in order for your prayers not to be hindered. Now, fidia, it says you are a weaker vessel. You know what that means? You're both weak vessels. You're just the weaker one, the feminine one. That is not a demeaning role. Your recognition of the headship principle will promote marital success and happiness. Jehovah set it up that way. It can only work if we follow it. It's not about being inferior or a subservient person. You're his complement. It's a divine commandment, so it's for our good. It's for your good. Your deep respect and admiration for your husband will be shown by your cooperation with him, not your competition with him. Now, he's going to make mistakes. Do not belittle him. Support his decisions, even the ones you don't agree with. And when he fails, and he will fail, lovingly support him. Now, there will be times you know how to do things. You've successfully gotten to this point, so you're smart. There will be times that you may be tempted to wear the pants, so to speak. You may feel that you have the best solution to a problem, but if that solution is not in support of your husband, Jehovah will not bless it, and it's not going to work. So if you discover at any point during the marriage that you're wearing the pants, that you have one foot in the leg of the pants, politely, gently, give them back to him. Just give them back. And if you don't even want him to know that you were wearing them, just wait till he's asleep and put them back in his closet. Here's something important that you will want to keep in mind. Do not make decisions without consulting your husband. It's the way Jehovah has set it up. It will not succeed. Consult your husband when you have, especially if they're important decisions with the budget, the household, anything to do with the family. If you make it a practice of doing that on the minor ones, then the bigger decisions will be much easier to talk to him about. If you stay true to your God-assigned role, you will contribute much to making the home happy and pleasant. You know the saying, happy wife, happy life. So work with your husband, and if you do this, the Bible guarantees that you will have success. If you believe that he thinks you are beautiful now, and by the way, you are, if you support him and work along with his efforts to lead this family, it will enhance your beauty in his eyes. But more importantly, Jehovah will be well pleased and he will bless whatever the two of you will work toward. So if the two of you seriously work at your God-assigned roles, this will help you to cultivate not just love in your marriage, not just being stuck with, but you will have a deep love in your marriage. Colossians chapter 3, verse 12 and 13 tells us to clothe ourselves with love and tender affections of compassion, and continue putting up with one another and forgiving one another freely. You may have heard it said that a perfect marriage is not made up of two perfect people, but simply just two people who know how to put up with each other and two really good forgivers. You have no idea of all of the things you're going to have to put up with just yet. There's no way you can know. You've never lived together as husband and wife. But if you go into it with the mindset that you're going to follow this admonition at Colossians, and you're going to forgive, and you're going to continue putting up with, you will fare, the two of you will fare much better. So look for ways to show love to your mate every day. Cook his favorite food. He told me what it was last night, but I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. And Jerome, when you find out what her favorite food is, learn to cook it so that you can do the same. There's nothing wrong with that. Set aside time to really talk to one another and really listen. And if she wants to talk to you while the game is on, turn the television off. Listen to your wife. Whatever play you think you're going to miss, SportsCenter is going to play it 100 times next week. Listen to your wife. Make it a habit of showing kindness to one another. So we've reached the point in our ceremony where I'm going to ask you to stand because I have a couple of questions that I would like for you to answer. Do we have a mic? Okay, we'll start with you, Jerome. Do you, Jerome, my Winnie-Mana, in the presence of Jehovah God and these witnesses, take fidia to be your wedded wife, to love and to cherish in accordance with the divine law as outlined in the Holy Scriptures for Christian husbands, for as long as you both may live? Your answer, please.
Yes.
Okay. Do you, fidia in the presence of Jehovah God and these witnesses, take Jerome, my Winnie-Mana, to be your wedded husband, to love and to cherish and deeply respect in accordance with the divine law as outlined in the Holy Scriptures for Christian wives, for as long as you both may live?
Yes.
Fidia, I'm going to need to hear some more volume.
Yes.
Okay. Who gives this woman to be married to this man?